Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gael and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael and Bob.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Gail. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving? It's Valentine's Day. Don't you know anything?
You know, I think I said that to my girlfriend this morning.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, I got a sweet Valentine this morning from somebody really special. My driver.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good.
He gave me a nice box of chocolates, and there's still some left, at least one. And then he also gave me a nice card and told me how devoted and loving and sweet and wonderful I am. And he is too.
Wow. It was all I could do just to roll out of bed.
Well, and I listen. The one thing that's truly important about Valentine's, other than the fact that I have a driver that gives me Valentine's every, is that, do you know the place where it was first celebrated?
Was St. Valentine?
Where it was first celebrated?
Oh, Italy.
No. It's where I was born.
In France?
In Paris. That was the first time it was actually officially celebrated. It was in Paris, France. Now, does that surprise you? It's the city of love.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so, you know, I'm telling you.
Well, that's a tidbit I really could use.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah.
So when are you taking her to Paris?
Yeah. Well, we were just through Paris.
I'm not talking about
Texas.
Paris, Tennessee, or
No,
Texas.
it was
Did you know
Texas.
there's like 30 of them in the United States?
Really?
There's a bunch of them.
Wow.
So who do we have today?
Well, we're here today with none other than Brad Cook. Let me introduce Brad. He's the author of the historical fantasy and award-winning short stories. He began as a playwright, dipped into the corporate writing world, served as co-publisher and acquisitions editor for Blank Slate Press. And I think that's kind of an interesting little thought, being an author and being a publisher.
Yes.
But he currently serves as historian of the St. Louis Writers Guild. After 3.5 years as president, he learned to fence at 13, never set down his sword. Or is that, well,
Sword.
that's how you say it in Paris. But prefers to curl up with the centuries-old classics.
Well, I am fascinated about
Welcome,
the sword.
Brad.
No, most people are.
I
Hello.
want to know more about the sword. So how big is the sword?
It depends. So I have great swords, which are the big two-handed ones, and I also have your katanas. But my favorite is actually the sabers. So it's a one-handed.
My mom brought some sabers from France, and she's got 2 of them, and I've got one. They're beautiful.
I bet.
I wonder if. Never mind.
You have to wear the sashes when you
No,
wear your sword.
I don't. Well, no, it just has little links on
Yep.
the end on the
To hang from your belt.
scabbard. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
There we
exactly.
go.
Yeah.
See, I know
So
my
it's-
swords.
It's more ceremonial than anything.
Yes, it's
Oh,
more
okay.
ceremonial than anything.
Right.
But I've always been fascinated. What got you started in it?
I started fencing at 13. I wanted to, so you know how like kids get into martial arts and all that kind of stuff? I did not. But I wanted to learn swords. And so I started fencing at the St. Louis Fencing Academy. And kind of went from there. Peaked out at trying to go to the Junior Olympics and did not make it very far, and kind of stopped being competitive after that. But I teach workshops now.
Really?
Yeah, a friend of mine and I, we do a whole series of workshops. We've been doing them for years at different writers conferences and conventions and things like that around the country. Actually, did a couple of them up at the Hannibal Steampunk Festival and stuff like that. So, but it's the two of us. We do a whole presentation on swords, all the different types of swords, how to write a sword fighting scene, all that kind of fun stuff. And then the beauty part is we do demonstrations, live fighting. There's no choreography work or anything like that. It's dueling.
I want to go
Straight
to one
up.
of
It's
those.
exciting and fun.
Now you pique my interest. How do you write a sword?
Well, you got to do the
fencing-
swishing
So
stuff.
every
like
fight
Errol
scene
Flynn.
is its own little story. It's got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And
Wow.
the beginning it could be a hand slap or some sort of insult. The middle is the fight, the juicy bits, and then the end is however it ends up. Winner,
Whoever
loser.
dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, from your bio, it looks like you have a long history of writing. What got you into writing in the first place?
So my elementary school teacher, creative writing teacher, my elementary school had a creative writing teacher, which was the most amazing thing ever. And
yeah.
Miss Goldman, she started us writing books, literally.
Really?
We drew in the little booklet. We made a story. She printed it out and cut it out and put it in there. We made covers for them, and that I was hooked. I have 3 of them. I still have them to this day. They're on my mother's bookshelf. But they are that hooked me. And then later on in high school, took a playwriting class, and that play got produced.
What's
And
the name?
so the play was called Remembrance. It was a horrible tale of that every kid would do on death and what it means to be alive and all that kind of good stuff. I thought I was,
Teenage existentialist.
exactly. I thought it was the next Tennessee Williams. I found out writing plays is actually really hard because you've got to get all those people together and directors and all that kind of fun stuff, and they change your vision. So I much preferred novels. And I found novels and I ran towards them. I spent a time doing business writing and I spent a time in publishing. And then now I write full time. So.
What was your corporate writing? I mean, how do you define that? or
So I
explain
did. It's funny. There's a definite line. I did a lot of writing, like for white papers and procedural manuals and all that kind of fun stuff. Tech writing, a lot of tech writing. And then that recession hit in 2008, and it all ended. It all became editing jobs. Everybody started doing their own work and just going, "Can you edit this for me?" And I was like, "This is horrible." So that's when I started. I got out of that and went into publishing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I spent 39 years as an English teacher. Editing is not fun.
I
It
like
just is.
editing my stuff, and I like
That's
editing other
different.
writing, but business
Editing
writing is
somebody
a
else's
whole other.
writing?
Yeah,
Oh, no. Yeah.
but it's a great job if you can get it. So there's a ton of that's why I love writing, because there's just so many different avenues.
Absolutely. And editing is one of the areas that is an absolute must
Hmm.
when you're doing a book or a poem, 3 lines. It doesn't matter. If you don't have it thoroughly edited in multiple ways and multiple people, you are cheating yourself. You really are.
What do you
Right.
find most rewarding about writing historical?
So I love telling
Fantasy.
stories. That's my biggest thing. Is
Okay, now
telling
what is
stories.
the difference between historical fantasy and just historical fiction
Ooh.
or
Good question.
because I don't
So, historical fantasy is basically, we'll start off with the easy one, historical fiction. Everyone knows it. You're taking real events that happened and
Mhm.
you're telling the story around them. So you're including real history in your book. It's a really great way of teaching history. I love imparting history that way because it's not a boring textbook. It's not a boring documentary. It's
Right.
not nonfiction. Nonfiction can be really
And
boring.
people are live.
Exactly. And it's a story. It's a fun tale, usually told. Now, historical fantasy is taking what kind of happened and then twisting it and throwing in dragons and fun and magic and all that kind of craziness. So you get to just do whatever you want with history. As a steampunk writer, I love historical fantasy because I can include whatever I want into my books, and it makes sense.
What is steampunk?
An excellent question. The easiest way to define it is Victorian what if. So it is steampunk is set in the Victorian era, which is the 1800s, which is a time that was filled with innovation, but it was also tied to the past. It was a time of great change, but it was also a time of holding on. And you take all of that and you wrap it up, and then you put leather and brass and all kinds of fun little gears and all kinds of stuff on it, and it becomes steampunk. What it really is a community of creators out there who just want to live in this kind of what if historical world. And it's a lot of fun when you get into it because you get all that history, especially for me. Most of my steampunk is historically accurate in the sense of it's set in a year. My novels are set in the 1880s. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to limit myself to the technology that was available then. Now, I've also written a middle grade that's just pure fantasy with dragons and air cities and, all that kind of fun stuff.
What's that? What's the name of that book?
That's Steam Tree, the Airdrainium Adventures. Airdrainium is an element that keeps all the cities afloat. So I know, right? Fun stuff.
I never knew that.
Exactly.
I didn't know that either.
Well, when you read it, if you can make it plausible, if you can make it believable, then everyone else will believe too.
Absolutely. That's the big thing about being a writer is that you have to be able to believe. Did being a co-publisher and acquisition editor influence what you write? I mean, all right. So let's break this down. What is an acquisitions editor?
Excellent question. So the acquisitions editor is the person who reads through everything that comes into the publishing house. So they call it the slush pile.
So you're the one that we send our manuscripts to.
Exactly.
Aha.
And I'm have the horrible job of going yes or no.
Oh my gosh.
And I was not the end all be all. There's a team of people usually, the editors, the people, the other publishers, everyone who's working on that book is going to have a say. But what you really do is you're looking for those diamonds in the rough, and they're there. We would get thousands of queries a year, but the best always does rise. I loved being an acquisitions editor because you're reading so much and it's so good. I mean, most of it is good. And what you're really looking for is the stuff that is just truly good, just amazing. And that was always fun to find. And when you can write that letter of we're accepting you, that's the best letter you'll ever write. The rejections are horrible, and we always gave good critiques. We were always like, we didn't like it. Please continue your journey. We loved this part of it, or something like that. We tried to give personal feedback, but it's a lot of fun.
So how did that influence your writing and how you?
It made me more commercial as a writer. I'll admit it. I think about my audience more. I think about who's going to be reading the book almost as much as I'm thinking about me writing the book, because I have a story I want to tell. I know that story, but there are elements that need to be added in that readers will love.
Right. What made you write the history of the St. Louis Guild? That's really different from the historical fantasy
The
and
Writers Guild, yeah.
Yeah. So I started in the Writers Guild in many, many years ago, in 2007. And pretty quickly, because it was just so influential to my writing, I joined the board. And so I've been a board member for many, many years, and everyone tells me stories. I have so many stories. I became the three-eyed raven of St. Louis writers, like literary history. And it was all contained in my brain, and it was only there. And, some of these people have passed away now.
Oh my.
That had told me these stories. And it's like, it couldn't go. And I'm the only one who had it. And, I had the beautiful thing of kind of coming in a time of transition. So I knew all these old presidents.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew everyone since then. So I was kind of uniquely positioned to write about the history and then, coming also into modern age. So when we hit 100 years, when the anniversary came up, I was like, I've got to record the history. So we're 3 years old now.
Wow.
And when we hit the century, it was time to write up the first 100 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're listening to The Author's Edge with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. and on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM AM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network.
So do you have any marketing tidbits for us?
Branding. This was something that you kind of mentioned in answering one of the questions was, one of the things that authors miss or you don't really want to be involved with is marketing.
Yeah.
But part of what you need to do is to make your brand stand out, either with websites, with promotions, through Amazon. There's just a number of different ways. There's an undeniable power that stems from embracing your individuality, whatever it may be, instead of trying to channel a disconnected from reality image of yourself. Here's how you do that. There's a misconception that personal branding is all about crafting a curated image of ourselves. And it is a misconception that needs to be passionately refuted. So many clients come to us asking for exactly that, only to find out that our core value is radical authenticity. And
radical authenticity.
We believe in the undeniable power that stems from embracing your individuality, whatever it may be. But instead of trying to channel a disconnected from reality image of yourself. So,
what does that mean?
Well, when you really sit down, a lot of people either look at something else and try to write the same type of story, but it's different from reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really should write your bio, your story in your own words.
Right.
And think of a successful author, an entrepreneur, or a politician you love or loathe. Really think of them. What is the one thing they have in common?
Loathe. I like that.
Yeah. I would argue that they all, for better or worse, are unapologetically real. So whether you like a Democrat or a Republican or an author, you may vary. But quite honestly, the successful ones are real. And the really everything about the branding issue and what we'll do is we'll put this up, and there's several articles on branding that we'll put on our website.
Okay.
So that's,
and our website again is
www.authors-edge.com.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
Take a look.
So what is the St. Louis Guild doing now, Brad?
So the Writers Guild, we're still strong 103 years later today. It's basically, we do 3 events a month. The big one is the very first, it's workshops for writers. It's on the first Saturday of every month. The next one is actually one of our special events of the year. We're doing Writers in the Lodge. We do them out at the Lodge de Pere. In De Pere, St. Louis. And you can also attend online. So they're all free.
How much does it cost? Oh, they're
it's
free.
free. That's the beauty of it. So all of our events are free. We used to charge, but since the pandemic happened, we made everything free and we put a bunch of stuff online. We now record these as well. So if you're a member, you can actually access.
How do you become a member?
So there is a website. It is www.stlwritersguild.org. You can find out everything you need to know. It's stlwritersguild.org. You can join there. You can find out all about our events. We do contests. We got our poetry contest coming up here, and April 1st is the kickoff of that. And that's the Deanne Wagner Poetry Contest, named after amazing local poet, actually. She was an amazing writer who passed away of cancer, sadly, in the 90s. And
Wow.
we've been honoring her ever since with this poetry
And
contest.
I'm sure you have children's writers in there too.
We do, actually. So we have all genres in the guild. It's amazing. From memoir writers on up to people, kids publishers and all that kind of stuff. We do a kids summer writers camp
I saw
for
that.
kids. We do it. It's 2 weeks. 1 week is for 4th through 5th grade. The other week is through 6th through 8th graders. Sorry, my bad. It's 6th through high school, or 8th through high school. It's 4th through
Right, I was
6th
gonna
and
ask about that.
8th through high school. My bad. You can find out all about that. The tickets are going to be on sale here in just a moment. We get some amazing speakers. We had the woman who wrote Ella Enchanted, Gail Carson Levine,
Mhm.
last year. We're really excited about that. That was exciting. We're having some big names this year. I can't announce them yet because we're still locking them down.
Right.
But that's an exciting one. And then we also we have a whole kids programming, actually, for young writers who are excited. There's the Apprentice Club. We've got a contest for young writers, and those who win, or the winners and finalists of that contest, go into a book, and that book gets published every year.
Wow.
So
Now,
What is an annual membership cost for the guild?
it's $45 for a standard membership, and it's $30 if you are a senior or a student.
Wow.
that includes us.
Yep. So if you're a
Speak
student
for
out there,
yourself.
and it goes to any students, actually, you just have to prove you're in class. So.
Okay. Now, as I was looking at your bio, I saw that you're an award-winning writer. So
yeah.
I've got you tied for 4th in Best New Steampunk Novel, 2014 PME Readers Poll. You received a 2nd place 2012 short
That's the
story
big one.
contest at the Missouri Writers Guild.
Yeah, that's the one I like.
Yeah, that's the one. That's your favorite. Why is that?
That story, it was just a lot of fun. It's out there. You can read it.
What's the name of it?
It's called A Clockwork Heart, and it's a love story. Perfect day for that.
Oh.
So it's all about a guy whose heart is so broken that he makes himself a new one. And I won't tell you how it ends, but it's a love story, and all that kind of fun stuff. So.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and it won a bunch of awards. It won 2nd place, was the biggest one it won. So I was, that was fun.
You also received a first honorable mention in 2010 St. Louis Writers Guild Short Story Contest.
Yep.
You also placed in the Archon
Archon's a local
Short Story Contest
convention. Yeah.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And 3rd place for your flash fiction. What is flash fiction?
Oh, flash fiction is any fiction that's basically around 1,000 words. So it is like the size of a poem, but it's a story. It's I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a lot. You can do a lot in 1,000 words.
And your query letter of 2012.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. That just won at the contest. But querying letters are a whole other thing. We could do a whole other hour on query letters.
We may be asking you back just for that,
Yeah.
because query letters are the one thing that a lot of people seem to have between that and getting reviews for their
Mhm.
books. Those seem to be the
Two big challenges.
two big challenges that writers have issues with. So
Probably why a lot of people do self-publishing.
yes. Well, I've gone back over this. I really don't like calling it self-publishing because there's that connotation in the back, that historical view that, because it's self-published, it's not good enough. Wrong.
Independent publishing. It's the new little
Independent
indie
publishing or author publishing
Yep.
is much better sounding. So from now on, my dear, no more self-publish.
Are you going to slap my hand?
I might.
Oh,
If you hear a smack,
with a ruler.
yes. So is writing short stories harder than full length?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? Short stories for me generally become either it's a story I want to tell, a little small thing, or I'm testing a book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they're much easier than the full length books. That's a better way of putting it.
Okay.
They're not as long.
Yeah, all right.
Do you write every day?
I do write every day. I covet my writing time, and if you want to do anything, write habitually. So habit is better than inspiration. That's a big thing I love to put out
Do you
there.
do it at the same time every day?
I do. I start off every morning and I end off every evening.
Hemingway?
Yes, it's a little bit, but not quite that bad. I do a couple of hours every morning, and I generally do a couple hours every night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short radio break so that we can appreciate our commercials and sponsors.
Do you want to become a radio show host, or do you want to create a radio show? Well, Dr. Stan Fine can help you to have your own radio show and put you on 100 cities daily across the U.S. And you can immediately start recording from a live radio studio. As a radio industry veteran, Dr. Stan Fine has 12 years of experience and has produced and hosted over 1,000 radio shows with over 10 million listeners. Dr. Stan Fine knows how to make this happen for you. He's a pro, and he can turn your dreams into a reality. Dr. Stan Fine will help you with everything from learning how to promote your show, develop a host persona, interview techniques, market your show on social media, teach you how to get guests and sponsors, and more. Dr. Stan Fine can put you on the air nationwide daily to 100 cities. If you're interested in making your dream come true, if you want to see how it all works, then give Dr. Stan Fine a call at 314-710-8413. That's 314-710-8413. You've got nothing to lose, and Dr. Stan Fine can help make your nationwide radio dreams come true. If you're looking for a new informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. It's live each Thursday from 10 to 11. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission? To guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our number one priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland.
In today's economy, there are more people looking to buy and sell businesses than ever before. When a company owner needs to sell their business, they can't just stick a for sale sign in the window. They need the assistance of a business broker to locate and vet potential buyers. On the other side, buyers rely on the broker to help facilitate the process of evaluating potential businesses and franchises for sale. A Transworld Business Advisor is the solution for both scenarios. Transworld Business Advisors focus on three core concepts: business brokerage, franchise consulting, and franchise development. Transworld has specialized in the sale of business and commercial real estate. Today, Transworld Business Advisors is a global network of brokers offering a turnkey solution for those that want to build a solid business and future for themselves while maintaining a balanced quality of life. With our comprehensive training program, full marketing support, and local field support, you won't have to start from scratch. Our trained experts and members will help you every step of the way. Transworld Business Advisors has 40 plus years of experience, 10,000 plus businesses sold, and 600 plus brokers, 250 offices worldwide. For a free initial consultation, call Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100. Again, that's Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100.
You're listening to Guy Allen Bob from Author's Edge, chatting with Brad Cook from St. Louis Writers Guild.
Okay, I have a quote from book 1 of the Iron Chronicles. Remember, they're just machines. Steam and oil may be the blood flowing through their veins, but it's the driver's soul that is their heart. So tell me about that.
So the Iron Chronicles is a young adult steampunk adventure. It's set in the Victorian age. It stars Alexander Armitage, who is 16 and doesn't know what to do with himself. He's stuck at Eton College with his dad, studying old manuscripts and stuff like that, learning languages he doesn't want to learn. And he gets his dad gets kidnapped and by these thugs, these kind of scary guys in bowler hats. But then they go on a whole adventure. He teams up with Genevieve, who is the Baron's daughter.
Genevieve, I love that name.
I did too.
It's Genevieve, by the way.
See, and that's just it. So it depends upon if you're in Britain or France, and I play with that in the book.
Oh,
so you
cool.
would love it. Yeah. Some people call her, Genevieve, and some people call her Genevieve. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so it's a lot of fun. But it basically, in the end, they fight the 4 Iron Horsemen, which are kind of the 4 horsemen from the apocalypse, and they do it in grand fashion in these giant mech machines
With swords?
with swords. Oh, heck
Oh,
yeah!
cool.
Genevieve has a sword.
Genevieve has a
She is
sword.
the fighter. He's the brains. She's the fighter.
Oh, I love it.
I know, right?
Oh, I
I've
love
loved
it.
flipping that trope. She wears pants. It's a whole thing.
Oh, I love
If you know
it.
your history, that's really,
That was a big
scandalous.
thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was a
absolutely.
big thing.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so exciting.
yeah, I know. It was a lot of fun playing it up like that. But that quote comes directly from them riding in these machines, which it's a reminder to them that
Iron
it's-
Chronicles?
Yeah, it's they're in this hunks of iron, but they're the ones who have the soul. They're the ones you got to remember that. So in the fight, it's a whole thing.
Well, you wrote the Iron Chronicles and then the History of St. Louis Guide, and then you've got an upcoming book, The Remarkable Journey of the First Road Trip Across America.
I know, right?
I mean, it's so eclectic.
I know.
It's like here, there, and yonder.
I know, right? It's the greatest. It had to be an epic title for an epic adventure. That's what I like saying. But it is literally, it is a historical fiction that is from the mechanics point of view of the first drive across America. It was a bet that turned into a race that changed the world, and that is easily an easy way of saying it.
Wow.
You have to understand that people were still like riding horses. The car wasn't a thing. It hadn't just been invented, but it was meant to, as they said, it was meant for scaring pigeons around corners in cities.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what the car was for. It was, there were some audio mobile like enthusiast clubs out there in the country, but that was about it. And this guy named Dr. Horatio Nelson Jackson, H. Nelson Jackson, he made a bet, $50 bet that he could do it in 90 days. And no one believed him because no one had done it. And then he hires this guy named Sewall Crocker, who's the youngest mechanic in California, who was a race guy, loved engines, loved doing
So
all
it
that
actually
stuff.
goes from California to New York?
California to New York. Yep, they did it backwards.
Because in my head, when you were talking about it, my first thought was it's going from New York to California.
Yep, they thought that would be easier, and everyone had been doing it that way because the thought was if you could get over the mountains,
Uh-huh.
you were free and clear.
Right.
You were going to be fine. And if you could get past the Mississippi River, there were actual roads. So the thought was if you could just get over the craziness, then you could make it. And they had a million breakdowns. It it's a whole amazing.
And how did you
story.
research this?
So I actually found it. There's a wonderful documentary and books, and if you want to hear about it, and from Dr. Jackson's point of view, there's some wonderful like nonfiction books out there. Ken Burns even did a whole documentary for Channel 9 on it and everything like
Wow.
that. But so I took that, but I really wanted to tell Seawall's story. No one had told this guy's story. He is the mechanic. He's the entire reason this car makes it. The other guy's the dreamer who does not ever doubt, and they get a dog and the dog becomes a superstar. Bud is like, he wears goggles and it's so good, but he's the superstar. And then you have, Dr. Jackson, who's the dreamer, but then you have this guy who's the mechanic who actually made it all possible.
I'm
And so I
listening
could
to
not wait to
you, and
tell a
you
story.
really paint the story.
I know, right?
Right.
I can't
Yes.
wait. So join me on the adventure. It kicks off in May. This is the 120th anniversary of the drive.
Oh,
It
cool.
was in 1903 they made the drive. So I'm going to do a whole thing on Instagram every day about the drive, where they are, where they went, all that
In
kind of
May,
fun stuff.
huh?
It starts in May and it'll go through the summer because
Okay.
it took them a while to get there.
Okay. Wonderful.
And spoiler, they
You
did
do a
make
lot
it.
of short stories.
I do a lot of short stories. I love short stories. For me, short stories are either tales I want to tell or they are tests for novels. So I'll always write a short story before I write a novel. To see if I want to play in that world, see if it's something I'm good at, catch the voice for it, because you're testing out different things like that. And a short story allows me to do that in a much shorter version than a 50 to 90,000 word, novel.
Can you share your inspirations?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So the inspiration for the Iron Chronicles
Okay,
was
wait a minute.
very
I have
simple.
one question.
Oh yeah.
A burning question.
Okay.
Okay. Really burning. Why is this not a movie?
Oh, I know, right? I would love a movie.
I mean,
You're
that
not
was
the
the
only one
first
to tell
thing
me that.
I thought of this when he said,
Yeah.
when he was giving the story that with Genevieve and the swords. I'm
There's a
thinking Errol
dragon.
Flynn.
Ah.
I'm thinking this would be a great movie.
You
I know,
had
right?
the same idea I did. I mean, it was.
I mean, how come?
I know, right? I would love it. I would love to see it as a movie, especially that one. It's just such a fun roller
do
coaster
you,
ride.
do you send those out to any agents? And
Oh yeah. So I started off in my journey, and this is something big for all authors out there. Anyone who's writing, start at the top. So I tried to get an agent for this book. Tried to get a publisher for the book. In fact, that book actually did end up with a publishing house, Treehouse Publishing Group.
Mm-hmm.
Came out through them. Loved it. Awesome. They ended up folding. I got the second edition out now from independently published. But start at the top, because if you've written the next bestseller, you want to make the New York Times list.
Right.
And an agent will see it and catch it and pick it up. And it doesn't matter if it's your first book. It doesn't matter if you've never written anything before. So always start at the top, because there are, 15 to 20 paths of publishing, from going to literary journals to going to all kinds of stuff to independently publishing to, various types of publishing houses, from the big traditional, the big five, to the mid houses, to the small independent presses, to the university presses. I mean, we could go on all day about the different
Right.
paths. So always start at the top, work your way down. But for me, these books all did. I send my next book goes on query as soon as this book is getting published. So I'll be sending it out to agents and publishers and everything like that. I like to hybrid publish. So there are things that I want to do myself.
Right.
No one, it's a niche. It's a niche in the publishing industry. No one's going to want it. But I want to get it out there, and I can. But there are books that are easily marketable and come out through houses and all that stuff. So
Because I'm telling you, this would make a great movie, an absolutely great movie.
you were asking about inspiration.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Iron Chronicles got inspiration. Literally, I wanted broadsides in the sky. So I wanted that old classic ship broadsides, the big pirate ships.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted that up in the sky with airships. And the entire book was written around that notion. The entire series is written around that notion.
And so, how many books are in the series?
There are three. There are three books in the Iron Chronicles: Iron Horseman, Iron Zulu, and Iron Lotus. By the
So
time
the
you read
second
them
one's
all,
coming out.
no, those all three of those are out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that trilogy came out originally in 2014. So it's had its life. It's run around the world and, had a blast. There's a ton of readers for it. My favorite are the book reports done by kids. I've been sent a few. I have a painting of the cover that a fan did. It's the most amazing thing. It hangs on my wall. It's one of my treasured possessions. So,
Wow.
Wow.
I know, right?
It's got to get into a movie. We've got to get it to a movie.
But asking about other inspiration, it comes from anywhere. My latest short story, Cloud Climbers, which just came out, I wrote it on vacation when I was flying through the sky. I was like looking at the clouds going, I wonder what would happen if we could harvest those and what corporations would do if they could. So it just rolled out from there and wrote the whole thing. And in fact, I was on vacation in October when I wrote that.
Wow.
So, and now it's out.
Now, is there special? Oh, I've got to go back to this Iron Conical.
Yes,
I'm
please do.
sorry. Is there special research you do for this?
Oh, yeah, no, research is my favoriteest thing to do. So I love research. I'm very good at it, and I will dig down. Obviously, I wrote the whole history of St. Louis Writers Guild. That was a ton of research. But yeah, I will investigate. That's why I set them in years. So like, I really wanted to have this certain type of gun, pump action shotgun in my original story. In the original draft, it's there. I just wanted a character who had one. It was like something cool. I wanted to do those. It didn't exist. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I had to go back and I had this whole thing with electromagnetism. And I was like, well, okay, that didn't exist. It certainly did. It'd been invented like 20, 30 years before my book. So I was like, okay, that's perfect. This fits right in. So when I lock myself into that year, it allows me to do research like that. Clothing, phrasing.
The clothing. I love the clothing.
The types of things they have. Like you would, in the past, there were a million little gadgets for any kind of thing. Even cleaning out your ear, they had little ear spoons. And you've got spoons, exactly. It wasn't a pick or a Q-tip or anything. It was a little spoon, little metal spoon you dig out in there with. But when you've got to get that level of detail when you're going.
Oh, absolutely. Because credibility is an extremely important issue. And if people can suspend a certain amount of credibility, but when it's out of whack, no, you have to have that credibility.
And the beauty part is you get to do like you would have in historical fiction. You're still writing in that era and you still get to do all that wonderful history, but then I get to add in the fantasy because it's steampunk. And so I get to have a dragon and I get to have all kinds of magic and I get to have, gadgets that could never possibly existed, but they could have maybe. If the Victorians had known a little bit more and twisted it a little this way.
Well, look at Leonardo da Vinci.
Exactly.
Okay.
Leonardo is he's clockwork punk.
Absolutely.
Clockwork punk.
We can get into that too.
He is. I went to his museum in France and it was amazing.
It is.
It was amazing. We took our son there and he didn't want to leave. He cried when he left. He was like, he was 40 years old, but he cried when he walked out the door. He was just like, Mom, I want to stay here. He wanted to fly. It was hilarious. Okay. So you do also short stories. Okay. So the standard as an English teacher for short stories is it to be able to be read in one sitting. Is that true or false?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that.
And what is a short story to you?
So all of short stories tend to range in the 5,000 or less range. 5,000 words or less. And in doing so, it's a snippet. So I love them because I can tell a quick tale. I can tell something that's fun and easy and isn't something you need long drawn out passages for. You don't need a whole
lot of description.
No, you get to the good stuff. And there's usually a twist at the end. You can there's a way to kind of craft them to have fun. But for me, they really are just fun reads. So I want you to have a fun, if you've got 5 minutes, you've got 10 minutes, whatever, give it a quick read, boom, it's done. For me, they're fun romps and adventures. That I can't tell in a novel or would just, no one wants to read all that.
Yeah.
But somebody certainly would want to read, 5,000 words of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're listening to Authors with Author's Edge with Gael Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM. And Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. So now we did talk a little bit about publishing and the traditional way, that that there are multiple ways in which to traditionally publish your book. But the big thing is that when you do submit, make sure you follow the instructions.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Please.
You research which publishers are out there. If you're doing children's book, don't go to fantasy.
No.
Okay. Because they're not even going to pick it up, folks. Just
Really what it is,
listen.
you're just getting a rejection, and you don't need that.
Right. And it's just going to make you feel like crap.
Mhm.
That's it. So make sure that whoever you're sending your book to, your manuscript to, they really do want to read it. Make sure you follow the submitting instructions.
Please.
If they say it needs to be Times New Roman 12, don't do Daytona 14. Don't, because they're not going to read it. And it sounds so simple and so little that most people will say, oh, what's the big deal? It's just a size font. Well, the difference is that is what they asked you for. Okay. It's no different than an English teacher who gives you instructions and says, it has to be 4 pages long, not 3 3/4. 4. They do it for a reason. Follow the instructions. And that's one thing that it drives me crazy. And if you don't, they're not going to read it. The other thing that is a crucial thing about going to traditional, make sure you're well edited. Okay. The less that a traditional publishing company has to edit your book, the more money they're going to be able to make, the more money you're going to be able to make. But if you don't edit that thing, and there's more than one way of editing, there is proofreading, there's developmental, there's structural. Make sure it's edited by multiple people. Don't just do it and say, oh, I know I can do this and that. That's not a big deal. Don't just use the AI programs either, because those things will only point out some of the spelling errors. But what about there, and there? Figure out which one.
Well,
Okay.
Most of them are in business writing.
Okay. Right. Most of them are business writing. So AIs aren't going to do it for you. You need a real human being who's really going to sit down and really read it and work with you on it. That is absolutely crucial. And then pray a lot, because you'll have to send your manuscript, your query letter, and any other materials to a lot of publishers. 96% of authors seeking agents are rejected. Check out Writers Market, agentquery.com for the stats about publishers. Both resources will help you find a traditional publisher, but you must do your homework. Am I right?
Oh, so right. I would throw in 2 things. First off, that rejection, which you're going to get, you're going to get as an author, as a writer. It's part of what, we all do. But rejection is never about you. And it's a very important thing to remember when you're querying, because rejection is entirely about the industry and what that publisher is looking for at that moment. And that's a very narrow field and you have to fit into that. And if you don't, you're going to get rejected. But it had nothing to do with the story you wrote, how good it is, your voice, you as an author, you as a writer, any of that. It entirely had to do with the publisher and what they're looking for at that particular moment. So rejection is never about the author. It is entirely about the book not being right for the publishing industry at that moment.
But if you wait 10 minutes,
exactly,
it could
or a
be.
different publisher, or the next guy down the line, or any of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
rejection's never about you.
It's just,
Please remember that.
it's because there's such a sense of vulnerability that when you put something out there that's from within yourself, that it becomes very traumatic
Mhm.
when you get the 400th rejection
It is,
letter.
yeah. When your story's had 30, 40 rejections on it, it's horrible. It feels so degrading.
It absolutely
You
does.
feel squished, but at the same time, that story has life, and readers will love it. And there's a million.
just
other
have to be
avenues go
persistent.
for 'em. Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the things I figured out in life. It has nothing to do with anything other than being persistent. It really is. Put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward.
And the other thing I'd throw out real quick, you mentioned some really great resources there to go to.
Mhm.
The other one I'd throw out is querytracker.net.
Query Tracker. Yes, that's
the
right.
other
That's
one.
another one.
That's another one. It's a
Mhm.
wonderful resource, but the 2 you mentioned were amazing as well.
Yeah. The Writers Market is
Yep.
one, and agentquery.com is the
Yep.
other, and
Querytracker.net.
querytracker.com querytracker.com.
Easy
Dot
for
net.
you. to
Dot
say.
net. I'm sorry.
net.
Yeah. Querytracker.net.
So one of the big questions writers often face is whether to author publish or go traditional method. What's your thoughts?
So I always say start at the top. So you're going to want to try for an agent, because if you've written that New York Times bestseller, that's where you want it to be. The agent will get you a deal. Agents still have, wonderful function in this world. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, but they are a pit bull that will
Right.
fight for you against your publisher and everything else, fights you don't want to have. They're going to work on your contract. They're going to make sure you get paid every step of the way. So agents are wonderful. And if you're with one of those big houses, it really is the only way, but it's so much they're needed. And if you can get in that track and if you've got that book, it's an amazing way to go, but it's not the only way. There's traditional publishing, as I said earlier. That's the big five. That's Simon & Schuster, all of that. But beyond that, you've got the imprints of those, which are these mid houses, which are wonderful, wonderful publishers. Some of which you don't need an agent for.
Right. You just have to do your research.
You can submit to them, when they're open. Then you run into the mid trades, which are the mid-sized publishers and all of that kind of stuff. There's some wonderful publishers out there that publish under 100 books a year, maybe even as low as 20. And then you've got your small publishing houses, these really niche publishing houses that do all kinds of wonderful things. That's what Blank Slate Press was. We did literary and historical fiction. That's it. And it was a great, we had some wonderful books. We did just a few books a year. I think as many as 15 or so was the biggest year.
Mm-hmm.
And
how long were they around?
Several years. They were around several years before I came on board, and then they were around sale, and they're still kind of around. It's an imprint of another publisher now.
Oh, okay.
It got bought out by another publishing house. That such
Yeah,
is the way of everything.
Yeah.
It's but it is. There's so many tracks like that. That's traditional publishing. Then you move into the different,
Author published.
author publishing, the vanity
Or
publishing.
independent.
Stay away from those, please.
Yes,
You should
please.
never pay
Right.
unless you're hiring people.
Right.
So hire people all you want to do all the work that you need,
Right.
but don't just hand a company $5,000 for a book. It's not worth it.
No, it's not. And
So-
you're not getting anything for it other
No,
than just a
book.
piece of book. And if quite frankly, if that's the only thing you want, do it on Amazon.
Exactly.
Just do
There are
it on
other ways to
Amazon.
do it. Yeah, exactly.
Because it'll be cheaper, it'll be more efficient. It's just don't the
Yep.
yeah the
Well,
vanity
that brings up the next question. Really, is what suggestions do you have about marketing?
So in terms of marketing, it is a big thing, and I highly recommend every new author and author who's been out there, but most of the authors who've been out there have been doing marketing for a while. Learn it, study it, read it, read blogs on it, because it's an area we don't know a lot about. We're focused on the words, not on how to get the words in front of other people.
Right.
But if you can get out there on social media, if you can run ads, if you can, be a part of the community, and I don't just mean the writing community, I also mean your readers community.
right.
If you're writing in a genre, there are fans of that genre, and those fans are rabid out there. They're all over social media. They're creating their own content and all of that. And if you can get into that community, you're directly tapping into your readers.
But I will say this: don't spread yourself too thin.
No. Yeah.
Find one or two and do those.
Yes.
If you're going to do Facebook, for example, concentrate and make that your go-to place for almost everything. Or if you're going to use newsletters, make that your go-to thing and focus on that. Because when you spread yourself too thin, you're going to find yourself not being organized, not knowing where you've put everything, and spending all your time on that marketing and very little of your time on doing what got you there in the first place, which is your book. So pick one or two. Don't do all. Just pick one or two. Focus hard on those. Do those thoroughly. Do those well.
Mhm.
Make sure that everything is pretty and up to date and edited.
Is it an unsaid rule that you have to be on Amazon?
No,
No.
but That's where people go to buy books.
It is the
And if you
number
look
one
at the
place.
stats on it, it is the number one place where they buy books.
Yeah.
So,
The trick is you want your book in more than places than Amazon.
right.
Because readers go elsewhere too. So you want it in a bookstore. You want it, in Barnes and Noble if possible. You're going to want it in Books a
In
Million
independent
or,
bookstores and any
Independent. Oh, I love all the independent bookstores. We have
Right.
such a great kind of, huge number of independent bookstores here in St. Louis, and they are all wonderful, and they all treat authors so amazing. So.
That's great. That's absolutely great. So what's next for you?
Next is my is the big the Remarkable Journey. So this I'm launching it, and it comes out in April. The journey begins in May. We're going to do a whole thing at Summer Writers Camp, the St. Louis Writers Guild Summer Writers Camp in June. I'm hosting it, so there'll be a whole kind of thing there where I'll do little tidbits every day there.
That's with the kids,
Yeah,
right?
it's for the kids Summer Writers Camp. So it's going to be a whole. That's kind of my summer block there. But as we, as I leave here, I will be going home and kind of finishing up what will be the next novel after that.
And that is?
I can't talk about that yet.
Oh,
It hasn't
no
even gone out
problem.
yet. I will tell you this: it's not for kids, and it's nothing I've ever written before. It's more of a thriller and stuff like
Like
that.
a mystery killer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Is
it's
it
a
modern?
psychological thriller.
Oh, it's a
set in modern-
psychological quote.
set in modern day. I'm leaving. Like I've left all that world behind. I'll come back to it and stuff. But
Oh, I certainly hope so because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want the movie.
oh, I know. And there'll be more of those and stuff like that. But yeah, this one will be way out there and be much more into modern contemporary stuff. Just a fun romp. I had a blast writing it. But it's going out. It'll be queried here in the next couple of months. So
All right. And can you tell us the title?
nope, can't even give you that yet because I don't have one yet. That's it doesn't have a title.
Oh, it doesn't have a title.
Nope, I have.
Okay, what's
it
the
has
name?
like 5.
What's Oh, let's do a survey.
Oh no, I can't do all 5. That would be horrible. You don't want to hear that because some of them are horribly bad. But some of my books I know what the title is immediately, and then others like The Remarkable Journey. It's got like 5 different titles.
How do you approach a launch? In other
Oh.
words,
A launch is that's a whole marketing thing onto itself.
Yes, it
so
is.
I haven't set up a book launch yet. I'll be doing that in the near future, like at a bookstore, and doing that whole thing. But it's day of, weeks before. There's marketing material to create for it, graphics to go along with it. You got to have a plan. You got to have a rollout plan. If you can get a street team going, that's awesome. Which a street team is a group of people who are telling other people about your book.
Right.
And stuff like that. So there are a million things that need to get done. There's in fact some great resources online that you can go to that will give you a list of the like 60 things you need to do to prepare for your book launch.
Do you have one?
Not off the top of my head. Jane Friedman does an amazing one, but I don't know the address for it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in and tune in again next week for more tips and resources. I do have one quick announcement I want to make. The Poplar Bluff Public Library is going to have their own Missouri Authors Fair. It's on March 4th. And we're going to have Catherine Gilbert talking about Missouri Gothic. We're going to have Michelle Webb reading her story called Dexter Fitting In. And your truly Gael Freer is going to do This Is What I Know About Publishing and Marketing. And that's at 12:30 on March 4th. So remember, Author's Edge, serving our author community, is broadcasting from St. Louis at KXOK. We are your number one source for writing, publishing, and marketing your books. Check us out at authors-edge.com for more tips and ideas. Tune out with us. Until next time, we will see you around the inkwell.